Just a really quick note on my background so you have some context about the lessons I'm going to share today and some of the learnings. I started my career in investment banking after graduating from Cornell, UMEC grad, and I slept under a desk. I loved it, though. I say that with a smile because I really mean it. A lot of people start their career in finance and they're like miserable. I loved every minute of it. I feel like those 2 years I spent right out of college at Goldman Sachs were incredibly valuable to my career. I learned a lot. I was a very introverted person who loved to cook and loved to kind of hang out in the kitchen while everyone else was outside socializing. And it was a great experience for me to watch leaders in action. I learned a lot of what I have implemented in my life in leadership from those early days right out of college of just watching people make deals, grow teams, build businesses, sell companies. I kind of watched the leadership styles of everyone around me, became a sponge, kind of soaked it up, and then developed my own. After working in investment banking, went into private equity and then venture capital. I sat on the board of 5 different companies when I was a venture capitalist. I then made a leap over to the dark side and became an entrepreneur. I've co-founded 4 companies, sold 2 of them. My most recent company I sold to QVC, which is a multi-billion-dollar organization. I work for the CEO of QVC after I sold my company, and I had a meeting, to have another meeting about a meeting we were going to have, and got really tired of having meetings after 2.5 years. So I jumped back over to being an entrepreneur and co-founded Wander Beauty. And this concept of Wander really came out of a personal pain point in my life. I had 2 children within 2 years. I was working all of the time. I looked very tired. I still look very tired. But I'd get up in the morning. I'd do my makeup on the subway. In a valiant effort to lose the post-baby weight, which, by the way, is 7 years in the making, I would do my skincare at the gym. And I would sometimes brush my hair when I got to work, and sometimes not. But I was doing my entire beauty routine on the go. I was no longer spending time for myself because I didn't really have a lot of time for myself when I had 2 kids and I was working all the time. And I really felt like there was a big white space in the market. So I created Wander Beauty, co-founded it with my co-founder, Lindsay Ellingson, and really the whole concept was to create fewer, better beauty essentials for time-starved women who are on the go. It's all about being gorgeous on the go. So we will move on to my first lesson from being an entrepreneur, starting 4 companies. This is something that we as women have a lot of trouble with, right? It's like as a venture capitalist, I would have tons of guys pitch to me. I would have tons of women pitch to me. And the guys were just ready to, like, with the confidence, go full force. And women were like, I think this is going to work out. I'm not sure if it's going to work out, but I'm going to do everything to make it work out, except failure. I actually teach this to my kids. I think it's such an important lesson that goes across generations and careers, whether you're in a corporate environment or you're working at a startup or you're building your own business. Some of the best lessons I've learned, the trajectory to success is lined and pathed by failures. It is really about making pivots, going right, going left, making the wrong hiring decisions. I once hired someone with very great resume, perfect on paper, seasoned executive. I'm like, this guy is gonna join my team. He's gonna teach me so much. And he taught me nothing. And 3 months in, I did what a lot of entrepreneurs I always recommend you do when you're making these big hiring decisions, is to try before you buy. So when I was making this hiring decision to bring this very senior team member onto my team, I said, I'm not ready to pay you your big fat salary because I don't have the budget, but I'm gonna have you work here for 3 months. And after 3 months, we will evaluate how this goes. And this was a sales job. And the guy sold nothing in 3 months. And every week, he used to give me a great story about how things were in the pipe and things were moving, but nothing was moving. And I made that decision very quickly to just part ways. And so when you're failing and things are not working out, don't get emotional about it. Don't get stressed about what the failure looks like outside the organization or inside the organization. Cut the cord, move on, and learn from it. And figure about, what did I learn from this experience, and move on to the next thing. Next up. Innovate, don't imitate. I have my own investment fund. I've been angel investing for about 20 years. I've invested in about 65 companies. And I will tell you the winners in my portfolio were all companies that truly focused on innovation. It is very easy to take someone else's good idea and kind of tweak it, make it a little better. It's actually really hard to think of something out of the box, but some of the biggest success stories that have come out of my portfolio, Shopify, Dollar Shave Club, Pinterest, companies I was in very, very early, were all innovation stories. It was the concept of, I'm going to create something that doesn't exist. I'm going to truly embrace innovation. That's what makes you better and different. When I talk to our product development team at Wander Beauty, something so basic, I always have a very high bar for what comes out of our brand. So you can buy a mascara at a drugstore, at a department store, from anyone. When you buy a mascara from Wander Beauty, it's Innovation 360. It's an innovative formula enriched with skin-loving, lash-loving ingredients, vitamins, ingredients that condition, nourish, grow your lashes, and then also we innovate in the delivery system. It's in a tube, which stays fresher longer. So for everyone who knows how fast mascara dries out and how annoying that is when you spent $24 on it, everything has to be innovation. Innovation in the formula, innovate in the packaging, innovate in the delivery system. If we're not innovating 360, stay home and don't do it. So like really hold yourself to a bar of innovation that's gonna break you through and create something different. This is a lot of what I really believe in today, in the world we live in today, is innovating in the experience of who you are and what you are as a brand. Telling your story, being authentic, embracing real people in the context of their real lives, and not selling people perfection. I'm over perfection. I'm not perfect. I'm real. I have kids. A lot of my friends have pets. I happen to be allergic to them. But you know, that's what we put in our creative. It's real women in the context of their real lives, not selling anyone what's perfect, because I don't believe that's authentic in this market. Lead by example. You have to literally set an example for everyone around you. When you go and build a company, you have an idea. And that idea may be a good idea, may not be a good idea, which happens sometimes. But the reality is you have to sell your vision to your co-founder, if you co-found the business, to your investors, if you have any investors, to your team, if you want to bring the best talent to come and join you, to turn that vision into a real business and execute on it to make it a reality. And the only way you can really do this well is if you lead by example. People need to say, if she can do it, I can do it. And that's something so critical to building and scaling an organization. It's one of the hardest lessons I would say I learned in my career. I had a team of over 300 people at one point, and it worried me. Because when you have smaller teams, it's easier to control culture. You see it through the organization, you know everyone's name, you know what they're doing, you have you know their manager, you can talk about it. When you have bigger organizations and as you scale and grow, it becomes much, much harder to carry culture and lead by example. But it's critical that you do this and that you instill your values into your team so that they can carry that forward. So if you're gonna gossip about people, you better believe that everyone else is gonna gossip about people. If you're gonna help, you know, someone take out the trash or fold a box or get things, you know, organized for a big PR mailer, then everyone else is gonna dig in and have that same attitude. If you're willing to get your hands dirty, other people will be willing to get their hands dirty. If you sell inspiration, motivation, and excitement, then the people around you will do the same. It's so important as a CEO and a founder of a brand to truly bite your tongue sometimes when you're like pissed off about something and remind yourself that you need to lead by example. You are setting the tone for everyone around you. Next up, related to this exactly is, Hire slowly, fire quickly. This sounds counterintuitive when you're growing. When you are building a company and you're growing, it's very painful. The bus is moving forward, and literally, it feels like the wheels are falling off because you're growing, you have orders to ship, you have angry customers on the phone. There's all sorts of challenges in scaling and growing. But the biggest challenge is scaling your team. And often what we do is we put people on the wrong job. We take person from department A and say, oh, they can fill the void we have in department B because they know the brand, they've been here, let them just do the job. I used to do that. I learned that that doesn't work. I have now learned to have a really big lens on building team and hiring and thinking about things ahead of time. So every single week, I meet people that I may not hire for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, a year, but at some point, they may be someone that I want to bring in my organization, and I build a pipeline of candidates way ahead every week. There's not a single week on my calendar where I am not networking and I'm not meeting people, because I find the best, incredible talent comes through personal networks, and it comes through referrals, it comes through meeting, it comes from this chemistry of connecting when someone's not on and looking for a job, but when they're off and they're just sharing advice and guidance or telling you about their story. And so every single person hired at my current company came from a personal referral or hired them myself. We've not used a single recruiter. And this took 4 companies in 20 years of me learning how to do this. So it took me some time, but I really think that I have learned well of what I think really works for me in terms of hiring. In the early days of starting a company, I hire for 2 things: raw intelligence and attitude. I want people who come in and are smart, who can figure things out. I want them to have a good attitude, because when you're at a startup in the early days, you're wearing 5 hats. You're doing 5 jobs, you're not doing 1. When you grow and you scale and you build a business and you get more mature and you're in the tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, you then totally shift your hiring to what I call skilled leaders, people who have domain expertise, people who have pattern recognition, someone who's done this job at another organization and knows how to scale that division, that department. They've done it before. They're going to come and join your business. They're going to help you do it better, faster, and cheaper. So early days, attitude and raw intelligence. Late days, pattern recognition and domain expertise. Kind of like that's how I think about hiring. Most importantly, I would say cultural fit is so important. At Goldman Sachs, we had something called the New York to Tokyo test. We used to ask everyone who interviewed the candidate, would you sit on a plane with this person from New York to Tokyo? And if the answer is no, it doesn't matter how good the resume is, we're not hiring you. And this sounds crazy, but I've always thought that. And I also have another thing, that when I hire any senior leader into any organization that I'm involved in, I try to take them out of the office and have some sort of social setting with them. Either I try and have breakfast with them or have a drink with them after work. I want to see what they are like when they are not at work and what their true personality is. I once almost made an offer to someone. The paperwork was organized, and I basically internally rescinded the offer. I had not made it externally yet, because I went to a meal with the senior person and I didn't like the way he treated the wait staff. And that to me told me a lot about how I thought he was going to treat junior people in my organization. I come from a service background. I went to culinary school. I've worked in the kitchen. I have a tremendous respect for service professionals. And if you can't be nice to a waiter, you can't work at my company. Like, that's just the basics of humankind to me. I think this is very important stuff that people overlook. A lot of times people hyper-focus on skills, schools, jobs, resumes, charities. that stuff is great, but ultimately the cultural fit and the values that you share with your team are more important than all of that. It trumps everything, and I've learned it the hard way because I've hired people who haven't been a fit, which brings me to my most important point. Fire quickly. Be very slow to hire in for jobs. I will tell you, I've had a lot of situations where I've had people leave, right? People get married, they have babies, they move, they do all sorts of great things. They leave startups because they're exhausted and tired. That happens too. And then you have a hole, right? And what do? You try and fill that hole so fast. Sometimes I don't fill the hole fast. I wait. I kind of see how the team around them absorbs the responsibility, what they feel like. And then I say to them 2 weeks in, if I were to redo this all again, who would you put in this seat? Would it be someone more senior than who used to sit there? Would it be someone more junior? Would it be someone at your level? And I get fabulous feedback from the teams when they lose someone in leadership or they lose someone at a junior level. It's very interesting, the feedback that comes out. Recently, I had a scenario where we phased someone out of the company, and someone in the organization immediately came to me and said, I would love to have that job. I was like, really? Like, you know nothing about this? They're like, no, I would love to have the job. This is my passion. I would love to have that job. I said, great. You can go sit in that seat. I thought about it a lot, talked to the team. And then that person said to me, you know what? I would really love to have a junior person execute on all the work that needs to get done here, and I would love to be the ideas person to kind of grow this role. And I was like, you know what? I'm in a better structure now with the right talent than when I had the old person there. Sometimes it takes a minute to just pull yourself back and out of the situation. Don't hire fast. Don't be ready. It's not like a flood where you're just like a pipe starts leaking and you're trying to like fix it right away. You almost have to kind of assess the damage and then think about what is the long-term great solution for my company. And it's a little painful, but it's very valuable. And the fire quickly comment, I want to like scream this from a mountaintop. How many times have we hired people and literally wish that we had fired them the day after we hired them, or a month later, or 3 months, or 6 months? And really, it's true. One bad apple really does ruin the bunch. I've seen bad investors ruin businesses. I've seen not good actors as employees destroy teams. And so it's like cancer, and you need to get rid of it and do the surgery and remove the tumor. And so don't be afraid to do it. Take the big bet and make it happen. Teach, learn, inspire. I would say that the single biggest common trait in every successful entrepreneur that I've known in my career is one thing: intellectual curiosity. I think that people who are intellectually curious and want to learn are outsized entrepreneurs. They usually have outsized returns and outcomes for their investors because they're on a continual path to learn and to grow. And so if you're that person as a leader of your organization, it's very important to take a step back and actually create that ecosystem for your team. So me, on a daily basis, constantly talking to other people in my industry, constantly meeting people who are CEOs of other companies, bigger, smaller, doesn't matter what the size, perpetually learning from people in all different stages of their career, and taking that learning, distilling it, and sharing it with my team, and really trying to inspire them by the vision and the strategy changes that I've gotten from these learnings. More importantly than that is that I surround all of my teams with external leaders. So I do believe that when you're in a smaller organization, or you're in a startup, or you're in a corporate, and you have a structure around who works there, and you're working with, call it 5 people, 10 people, 50 people. There's probably 150 out there who could teach you guys a lot of things. And so every single team on my team has external advisors and mentors. And I encourage them to meet them, seek them out, network with them, go to industry conferences, build their own network and find their own guides. And then I also put a lot of people that I know from my network in front of them. And I really want them to build long-term relationships. I think sometimes when you're in a company and you're in a brand, you get very singularly focused on what you're trying to do. And you would spend so much time executing that you don't take the time to take a step back and look at strategy and look at a different way that someone else is doing it. And so our e-commerce team, our product development team, our sales team, they all have advisors externally outside of our company who are in different industries, same industry. It could be whatever it may be. And we actually give them budget to go out and spend time with people. So have coffee, have dinner, and like socialize to build their network. When I was first starting out, I used to have a saying that really like took me far. Network to get work. And that really means it, like build your network. You never know when those people are gonna come in handy as you're growing, as you're building. If you change industries, like building a network of people is those human relationships matter so much and they drive an incredible outcome for your business and for your team. You also need to know how to network. You can't always be sending people emails asking for favors and asking to talk to them. I get a lot of these random things, and I really have a principle. Know what you want to learn and achieve in the relationship that you are building with someone. Be very direct and open about it, but also be willing to do something for them in exchange. And, cut to the chase. If I had a penny for every email I got from LinkedIn or my personal email saying, I want advice, I'm like, what advice? What advice do you want? What do you want to talk to me about? Tell me what it is. Know your ask. Crystallize that ask. Make it concise and to the point, and let that start the relationship. Let build the repertoire back and forth by having a specific thing you want to learn or you want to develop and kind of take it from there. Moving on. Learn to listen. My mom, when I was a kid, told me there was a reason that God gave me 2 ears and 1 mouth. And she was right. She was really right. This is one of the biggest business lessons that I have learned in my career. And listening happens 360. So it's not just listening to your team and getting feedback from them and hearing what they have to say, but also listening to your investors, listening to your customers. Some of the best innovative products that we have won awards for at Wander Beauty. We've won 30 beauty awards, 5 Allure Best of Beauty awards. They all came from customers. Listening to our customers, having a feedback loop, email surveys, text message surveys, Instagram polls, Facebook polls, solicit feedback every which way you can. You never know how that feedback is going to actually drive the outcome of your business and your pipeline. I think this is last. Oh, second to last. Build culture. I touched on this before. We have a culture of communication at work. We really believe that this is really important to be very transparent and open. Every Tuesday we have a team meeting. Everyone talks about everything and updates the whole team on what they're doing. We have a very strong lines of communication. I also feel really strongly that people should have a life and enjoy their life. I didn't enjoy my life in my early years of my career. I worked all the time. My boss used to email me at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, midnight, 1 a.m., and I used to respond right away. I don't like that. I think people need time to decompress and be away from work. And so I work all the time. I'm sitting on my computer at 1 a.m. many nights, and I don't email people. So I put all my drafts together of what I want to send people, and I schedule my emails to be delivered during work hours. And this is a big skill that I've learned as a CEO, is to respect people's time while they're working and respect their time when they're not working, such that if I'm working all the time, that doesn't mean you need to be working all the time. And what is the most annoying thing? The most annoying thing is getting an email at 10 o'clock at night for something you have to do tomorrow, so that's sitting on your head. You're not going to do it till you're in the office tomorrow, but it's sitting on your head. It's creating anxiety, stress, sleep, and one more thing for you to do. Wouldn't you rather get that email at 9 a.m. when you're sitting in front of your computer and you're actually going to do the work that needs to get done in this email? So put myself in the shoes of the other person and decided that scheduling emails only during work hours is a much better way to have people be productive and focus their energies on what they're doing, and also to really enjoy their time outside of work. Last up, amplify personal stories. I really believe that in the environment we are in today, especially with a massive rise in venture capital and so much money being poured into customer acquisition, so many brands have really, really been sold. You get in the subway, you see an ad. You walk in Soho, you see a billboard. You open your phone and you're on Instagram and you see an ad. You go on Facebook, you see another ad. You visit a website, ads are following you everywhere and you can't escape them. That's a lot of what I call selling. I've always wanted to create brands that are bought, not sold. And I think the difference between that is really understanding, in my case, women in the context of their real lives, how they're interacting and engaging with problem solution multitaskers, how they're telling their story, taking those stories and then weaving them together to be the narrative of my brand. And so I think that amplifying personal stories, you may put a product in someone's hand and they may use it completely differently than how you intended them to use it. But that's what's so exciting about being an inventor and a creator, is putting things out there in the world and letting people engage with them in an authentic, real way. And then taking their interactions one by one, weaving them together, and letting that tell the story of your brand and the narrative of your brand, because that's authentic and that's real. It's actually bought by others because you influence others with your real, true voice, as opposed to being pushed and sold. That's it, guys. Any questions?